Imagine sitting in a room full of people where everyone is trying to prove something. Someone is talking about their achievements. Someone is explaining why they are right. Someone is trying to get attention. Everyone is fighting to be heard. But then there is one person sitting quietly. They are not trying to impress anyone. They are not trying to win every conversation. They are simply watching, listening, and understanding. And somehow, that person becomes the most interesting person in the room. The strange thing about silence is that the less someone reveals, the more people become curious about them. Thousands of years ago, a Chinese philosopher named Lao Tzu understood something that many people still struggle to understand today. He believed that real power does not always come from speaking more. Sometimes, the greatest strength comes from knowing when to remain silent. Think about your own life. Have you ever been in an argument where you knew that continuing the conversation would only make things worse, but you still kept talking? Maybe someone misunderstood you. Maybe someone criticized you. Maybe someone said something that hurt your feelings, and your first reaction was to explain yourself. You wanted them to understand your side. You wanted to prove that you were right. So you kept talking. You sent another message, then another one. You explained more. You defended yourself more. But after everything was finished, you realized something. You were not trying to solve the problem anymore. You were just trying to protect your ego. This is something humans have struggled with for thousands of years. We think speaking more gives us control. But sometimes, silence gives us more control than words ever can. Lao Tzu taught that a person who controls themselves is more powerful than a person who controls others. And this idea is completely different from the modern world we live in today. We live in a time where everyone wants to be noticed. Social media has created a world where people feel pressure to constantly react, constantly share, and constantly prove themselves. Someone says something negative about you, and you immediately reply. Someone disagrees with you, and you immediately fight back. Someone questions your ability, and you immediately feel the need to show them they are wrong. But what if you did something different? What if you paused? What if you gave yourself time before reacting? Because the person who can control their emotions has something most people never develop: inner power. Psychologists call this emotional regulation. It means you can feel emotions without allowing those emotions to control your actions. Anyone can become angry. Anyone can become defensive. Anyone can react. But staying calm when your emotions are demanding a response requires real strength. Imagine a young employee at a company. One day, their manager criticizes their work. The employee immediately becomes defensive. They start explaining every reason why the mistake happened. They blame the situation. They blame other people. They keep talking because they feel attacked. Maybe their explanation is correct. Maybe they actually had a good reason. But because they reacted emotionally, the message is lost. Now imagine another person in the same situation. The manager says, "Your work needs improvement." The person takes a moment. They listen carefully. They say, "I understand. I will work on improving it." Later, when their emotions are calm, they think about the feedback and decide what they can learn from it. Who appears more confident? The person who immediately fought to defend themselves, or the person who had enough control to stay calm? Most people misunderstand silence. They think silence means weakness. They think quiet people have nothing to say. But sometimes silence is not the absence of power. Sometimes silence is the proof of power. There is an old story about a student who visited a wise teacher. The student asked, "How can I become wiser?" The teacher picked up a cup and started pouring tea into it. The cup became full, but the teacher continued pouring until the tea overflowed everywhere. The student said, "The cup is already full. Why are you still pouring?" The teacher smiled and said, "Your mind is like this cup. It is already full of your opinions, your assumptions, and your beliefs. Until you empty some of it, you cannot learn anything new. This story explains something important about silence. When our mind is constantly filled with noise, we cannot hear our own thoughts. We spend so much time reacting to the outside world that we forget to understand ourselves. Many people are constantly thinking about what others think of them. They worry about their image. They worry about proving themselves. They worry about being accepted. But silence creates space. It allows you to step away from the noise and see things clearly. Think about the people you respect in your life. Maybe it is a teacher. Maybe it is a family member. Maybe it is someone successful. Usually the people we admire are not the ones who talk the most. They are the people who speak with purpose. They do not waste words because they understand that words have value. A person who speaks every second makes their words ordinary. But a person who chooses their words carefully makes people listen. Lao Tzu was not teaching people to completely stop talking. Silence does not mean becoming distant or emotionless. Silence means choosing your response instead of becoming a prisoner of your reaction. Sometimes silence means walking away from unnecessary conflict. Sometimes silence means listening when someone needs support. Sometimes silence means waiting before making a decision that could change your life. Because many mistakes happen when people act from temporary emotions. One angry message can damage a relationship. One emotional decision can create years of regret. One unnecessary argument can steal your peace. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. The next time someone tries to pull you into drama, remember this: you do not have to respond to everything. You do not have to prove yourself to everyone. You do not have to explain your value to people who refuse to see it. Protecting your peace is not weakness, it is wisdom. Lao Tzu understood something thousands of years ago that we are still learning today. Water is soft, but water can shape mountains. Water does not fight the rock. It does not become angry. It does not try to prove its strength. It simply continues moving. And over time, it changes everything. Maybe that is the lesson we need today. In a world where everyone is trying to be louder, learn the power of being still. Because sometimes the person who says the least is the person who understands the most.